The Cold War wasn't just fought with bombs, spies, or nuclear threats. It was fought with athletes, in stadiums, on tracks, in ice rinks, and under the global spotlight of the Olympic Games. For the United States and the Soviet Union, every competition was a political statement. Every gold medal was proof that their ideology was superior, that their way of life could create the strongest, fastest, most disciplined humans on Earth. After World War II, the world fractured into two spheres. In 1952, the Soviet Union returned to Olympic competition for the first time since the revolution. But this wasn't about sportsmanship. It was a strategic move. They arrived in Helsinki prepared to dominate. Organized, heavily trained, state-funded. Their athletes were soldiers in tracksuits. The Americans, on the other hand, brought amateurs, students, volunteers, and dreamers. They came from college campuses and small-town gyms, believing that freedom, individuality, and self-determination were enough to beat any machine. From the 1950s through the late 1980s, the Olympics became a cold battleground. The USA and USSR fought tooth and nail across every event, from track and field to gymnastics, from basketball to weightlifting, and especially in hockey. The numbers don't lie. Between 1952 and 1988, the Soviet Union won 473 gold medals. The USA, 385. Every medal counted. Every anthem played was more than national pride. It was international pressure. In 1972, at the Munich Summer Games, the world witnessed one of the most controversial moments in Olympic history. The men's basketball final, USA versus USSR. With only seconds left, the Americans were ahead. Then chaos erupted. The clock was reset. The Soviets were given multiple chances. They scored. They won. To this day, the American team refuses their silver medals. They say they were robbed, not just of a medal, but of justice. 8 years later came revenge. 1980, Lake Placid, the Winter Olympics. A ragtag team of American college hockey players faced the Soviet Union, the most dominant team in the world. The Soviets had won 4 of the last 5 gold medals. Their players were military trained, experienced, unbeatable. But what happened was pure miracle. The Americans beat the Soviets 4-3 in a match now known as the Miracle on Ice. It wasn't just a victory, it was a global shock. The crowd erupted. The world watched in disbelief. That win echoed louder than 1,000 speeches. But politics kept pushing. In 1980, after the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, the USA boycotted the Moscow Summer Olympics. It was a massive blow to global sports. Dozens of allies followed. The USSR responded in 1984 by boycotting the Los Angeles Games. Once again, the Olympics became collateral damage in a war of ideologies. And while the athletes trained and competed, shadows followed them. Soviet competitors were watched by government officials. Every word, every step, every move was observed. The KGB wanted total control. Western athletes, on the other hand, were exposed to relentless media pressure, corporate expectations, and Cold War rhetoric. Steroid use became an open secret. The East German and Soviet doping programs were industrial scale. Athletes became tools. Champions were mass-produced. Many suffered long-term effects. But back then, winning was everything. Even in individual sports, the Cold War was present. In gymnastics, Soviet legends like Olga Korbut and later Nadia Comaneci, competing for Romania, became icons, not just of excellence, but of state-crafted performance. In the 1988 Seoul Olympics, the tension peaked once again. It would be the last games with the Soviet Union intact. They topped the medal table. One last show of strength. But behind the scenes, the cracks were forming. By 1991, the USSR collapsed, and with it, the Olympic rivalry faded. In 1992, former Soviet republics competed under a unified banner, the Unified Team. It was the end of an era. The Olympics, once a battlefield, became just a game again. But the legacy remains. The Olympic battles between the USA and USSR were more than just sports. They were symbolic wars, fought with sweat instead of bullets, but with the same intensity. Every jump, every goal, every finish line crossed. It all carried the weight of nations, ideologies, and the eyes of the world. Today, when Team USA and Team Russia face off, it's just competition. But in the days of the Cold War, it was life and death, of ideas, of systems, of power.